Hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's amazing video, I am going to be showing you and teaching you how you can measure your feet to get your perfect size. Okay, so in case you want to order shoes online, you want to do anything, send someone your feet measurement, this video is for you. Also, if you're a shoemaker, you want to know how to measure your feet or your client's feet, or how to get the perfect last and everything, this video is also for you. So let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be doing is tracing. And basically we just place one foot on a piece of paper, blank piece of paper, and then you trace out the outline of your foot. And when you're doing this, try not to make your pen or pencil slant. Okay, you want to keep it straight, ensure that it is straight at all time, and you're just basically tracing out the outline. Okay, and after doing this next step is mainly for the shoemakers. Okay, so you notice this little curve over here. This is basically where your feet actually touches the ground, and you have to mark that out. And yes, you will have to make your pen a little bit slant to be able to get that inside curve, and that's fine. And then you just want to also feel around in case you have any other slant parts, and then you go in and then you trace at that too. Okay, some people on the other side, they don't have any other curve, but some they do, and you want to trace that out. And then the next thing is to find the measurement for your ball points or ball joints, whatever you call it. And it's basically where the joint between your toe and the rest of your foot, where you can feel a joint there. Basically, you can feel where the bone is there, and it is usually not straight, kind of slant. It's on both ends, and then you just want to measure it and mark it. You can do these measurements in centimeters or millimeters. It all depends on you. Please, you can do your measurements in centimeters or inches. I'm using inches. And then the next thing that we're going to mark out is the waist. This is not so necessary, but I like to do it just to be thorough. And it's basically the point between your ball points and your instep, and you just want to measure that out. Also mark out also the points that you are measuring. You want to kind of mark it out on your sheet of paper, right? You just want to know where it is, measure it, and then you record your measurements. Okay, I made a video on how to understand your measuring tape, so you can go over to the profile, and then you click on the video to watch it in case you do not know how to understand your measuring tape. And then the next thing that you're going to be measuring is your instep, and this is basically the highest part of your feet from the top, like you are saying. And you also want to measure that out, mark it out on the piece of paper so that you know exactly where you are measuring and what you are measuring, and then you mark that one out too. Now, if you just want to know your size, this is fine. But if you're also a shoemaker and you just want to go further, this next step is measuring the heel. It depends on what you're making. If you're making a shoe, whatever kind of thing you're making, you just want to measure the heel just in case. You can as well go and measure the heel. You basically just want to put it at the very base of your heel, or the heel of the foot you're measuring, and then go kind of to the ankle, just go around it, and then you measure that. And if you're making something that is up to the calf, you also want to measure that too. But first, you want to measure the ankle. Now, you just want to measure a little bit above your ankle points. You know those bones that you can feel on your ankles. You basically just want to measure it a little bit on top. Don't go so high, just a little bit on top. And then the next thing, this is if you are making a boot or safety boots or anything, you want to measure the height of where you want your boot to be. So I really don't have any. I'm just showing you. I'm not making a boot for this person. And then when you have gotten your perfect height, you go in to measure your calf. measure the calf of the person. And then when you measure the calf, you can as well go in and measure the mid calf, I guess, depending on the height that you are working with. And yeah, basically, so these are a few of the things that you get to measure when you are measuring as a shoemaker. Okay, every other thing, it goes along with the design you are doing, and voila, this is what you should have. Okay, and we're going to go ahead to process this. I'm just making out the outline. Remember, these curves I said is mainly for the shoemaker. So if you're a shoemaker, this is for you. But if you just want to know your size so you can send to someone and you want to order shoes online, this little curve I'm making in here doesn't really concern you. Okay, so I'm just drawing out the outline of the foot more so I know what I am working with, and so that you guys can also see exactly what I mean. You can notice that the outline of the foot is coming out sort of, right? Yeah, so all of that, the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to find the highest point. For some people, the big toe is longer than every other toe. Others, the second toe is longer. So it depends on what you want to do. Personally, this person's foot, the second toe is longer than the actual big toe. So I'm going to use the second toe to measure. So I'm basically just going to draw a line with my rule and then mark it straight down, all the way down to the center point on the heel. Okay, yes, if you're trying to know your size, this is the most important part. In fact, you see, I just go all the way because that is the highest. Now let's say that the highest point is the big toe. So this is how it is still going to go. I just draw a line from the big toe all the way to the middle or the center line, just the way you see it now. Okay, I actually just need one, but I just want to show you how it goes. And then the next thing is to measure. Again, you can measure in inches or you can measure in centimeters. It all depends on you. And you just want to measure from the highest point down to your heel, basically. And you can see how it is. On this one, I got about 11 inches and 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, that was what I got. So I'm going to write that down. And yeah, basically you can use centimeters, you can use inches, whatever works for you. You can do this in centimeters and as well do it in inches, and then you send it to the person that you want to order your shoes from, and then the person gets to choose which one it is. And then I'm just going to measure the other one just because, okay, this other one is kind of longer, so it's fine. It's also around 11 inches. I got about 11 inches and 1/4, I think, but it is okay. Something else I want to say, usually you get to measure both feet. Okay, you can measure, this one is just 1 foot, I just measured 1 foot, but you can measure both your feet. And then when you do this, the one that is the biggest or the longest is the one you should send out. Let's take a quick pause here, okay, and consult Google or whatever search engine you use. You will be able to see different size charts, and for different countries, in inches and as well in centimeters. Okay, it all depends on what you use. As a shoemaker, it all depends on what you use. As an individual that just wants to know their size, it all depends on where you stay, I guess, and what you use. It depends on you. Okay, so the next thing, remember the way I marked out or I traced out the outline of the foot. I made sure that my pen was straight, and that sort of gave it a little bit of allowance. I'm going to show you with this little plastic. You see my pen is straight, and then when I go in, you see the way it's just going around it. It has a little bit of allowance, if you can see over there. Okay, so because I am not tracing out the main thing, I made sure that my pen was straight. Now, if I were to slant it and then trace around it, I will be getting the exact shape, okay, the exact shape of what I am tracing, which was not what we did when we're tracing out the outline of our foot, if you remember. And that is fine. That is acceptable. That is what you should do. Make sure that your pen is straight, so you have a little bit of allowance around it. Okay, you have a little bit of allowance around it. Those also account for something, so don't just feel like it's wasted. It is not. It is fine, because your last is supposed to be the shape of your foot, kind of. Okay, first let's measure this last. Let's say now I already have what I got. Let's measure this last, and it is not the size I want. This is a little bit smaller. If this is the only last I have, I can go as well to size up. Okay, but this one, I just know it's small. This is not the size of this person. And then, you cannot just get the exact shape of your leg on a last, because that is not how shoes are. If that's how shoes are, then shoes will look like legs and they would not have any shape. So what you want to do basically is to be able to get the exact last for your customer's foot. Okay, so I went in with the size 40, that was too small. And then now I'm going in with a size 43. But let's ignore the size that is written on there. I'm just going to place it and see. You remember the curve, that little curve. You see it also follows the last. Yes, it is supposed to. It's supposed to follow the last, because this is how you form out your insole. Generally, this is how you form out your insole. Okay, and this has no wealth allowance or anything. Okay, this is just plain raw fit on paper. And we have the top is okay, but the back, which is the heel, has a little space. And then this last is okay. Basically, it touches where your foot is supposed to touch the floor, which is why we made those curves in the first place. And another thing I'm going to show you is that I'm going to measure out. You see these measurements we made while we're outlining the foot? I'm going to go ahead and measure it out on the last. So we're basically measuring our ball points, our waist, and our instep. So for the ball points, you just go ahead. If you don't know how to get your ball points on your last, you basically just have to find the highest points of your last, which is simple. Get a very flat surface. It can be your wall or anything, and then you mark out the point that touches the surface, or the highest points, if that makes sense. You turn your last and then you do it over on the other side. Okay, so that is how you get your ball points for your last. Now you go ahead to measure out these ball points. Basically, we're repeating everything we measured out on the feet, because we just want to make sure that everything, the last and everything, is the same. The last should be the same with the size of the leg. You don't want to use a bigger last, or you don't want to use a smaller last. So I went ahead to measure out the ball point for this particular last, and then it's smaller than the ball points I measured on the foot. And I'm also measuring the instep. The instep is actually quite important here, more so than the waist. And then the instep is also smaller. Okay, I came up a few just a little bit, a few inches smaller, right? And remember that these are the important parameters. So usually, if this is the only last I have, I can go ahead to size up this last to match the perfect one. However, I do have a bigger last. Okay, so I'm just using different kinds of last so you understand what I mean, and I hope I'm passing the message across. Again, you see all of the curves just fit perfectly with this one. Okay, the tip is matching the tip. We do have a little space at the back, but that's fine. Okay, and then now I'm going to measure out the instep again, just to confirm, and voila, what do you know, the instep actually matches. Okay, so the instep, we had 11 inches and 1/4 of an inch, and that is what this instep is giving us. Now we're going to measure the ball point, which is also going to match the one of the feet. Okay, so disregard whatever is on the last, whatever size they write in the last. Most of the time these lasts are not so correct. They just make something and then they put whatever size they like there. However, this one does seem to be correct. Okay, it matches perfectly, it matches everything. And then let's try the length. Okay, and we have 11 inches exactly, but remember that our total length for the foot was 11 inches and 1/8 of an inch, which is fine, because remember, because of the way we positioned our pen, we do have a lot of allowance. Okay, maybe not so much, but we have an allowance. So this last fits perfectly for this foot. Okay, checks the whole box. This last checks the whole box. This one was way smaller. It wasn't, the length was even it wasn't up to 11 inches. Okay, so if I had to use this smaller last, I would have to size up. So I really hope this was actually helpful, and I hope I explained it the simplest way that you can understand. So yeah, this is basically it. This is how you find out the perfect last for your customer. Okay, this is how you are able to measure the length of your leg, of your foot. This is how you are able to do anything at all. This is how. Okay, in case the person doesn't know his or her size, you just simply have to measure everything out. Okay, so don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share in case you know someone that has trouble finding their length, the length of their feet. In case you want to order something online, or you know someone that does, share this video to them. Thank you for watching. Bye.